Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Authentic Money Show here on YouTube. I'm your host, Latoya Van Hook, and today I have a really special treat for you guys. This is an online credit class that I released to my private community, and I'm sharing it with you guys here on YouTube. So let's get right into it.
And so, what is credit? What is credit? Credit is the ability of a customer to obtain goods or services before payment based on trust that payment will be made in the future. Credit is the opposite of debit. You have your debit card that you have to load with your own money into your bank account, and then you have the credit that is based on your credibility, right? And so the word credit started being used in the 16th century, originally in the sense of belief, trust, and credibility. So in order to get approved, you have to be believable, you have to be found trustworthy, and for them to give you credit. And so this is how we get the credit reports, right? We get the credit reports based off of these things that credit is. And so they had to figure out a way basically to keep track of the individuals they lent to. And so, since credit is based on belief, trust, and credibilities, like I said, they had to figure out a way to keep track of these individuals. And so, your credit report contains four components. It contains your identifying information, and this is your name, date of birth, your social security number. And then it has your credit accounts. These are individuals you owe money to. And then it has your credit inquiries. These are the individuals you went to go ask for some money. Okay, you wouldn't say, can you give me the money for a car? Can you give me the money for a house? Okay, these individuals will say that, hey, they came and asked us for something. And then you have your public records. And these are basically bankruptcies or foreclosures that you may have. And so they use various methods to estimate your creditworthiness until about 1958, when Bill Fair and Earl Isaac created the credit application algorithm that we know today as FICO, which is a scoring algorithm. And most people don't know that you are being scored, and this is how you have your credit reports that are 300, 500, 700, 800. They are rated in a score algorithm that was created by FICO. And so, just like Facebook has an algorithm, just like Instagram has an algorithm, there is an algorithm for your credit. And so, even when applying for things, there's an algorithm. So, when you go into Walmart and they ask you at the register, do you want to apply for credit? If your credit does not meet that algorithm, you won't get approved at the register. They'll say something like, we'll send you a letter, that meant basically that you didn't meet the algorithm that they was looking for at the register. So far we learned basically what was credit according to the dictionary. We learned how we got the credit reports. We learned algorithms. Now I want to teach you what credit is according to the law. And according to 15 U.S. Section Code 1602F, the term credit means the right granted by a creditor to a debtor to defer payment of debt or to incur debt and defer its payments. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a student loan before, but if you ever deferred the payment, then that means that you put off the action or event to a later time. You postponed it, you delayed, you suspended it, you put it on the back burner. And so if when they gave you credit, they gave you a right, you the debtor, to defer payment or to incur debt, why do you have collection accounts? Why do you have charge-offs? Why do you have late payments? According to credit, you should not have any of them because you were given credit. You were given the right to defer your payment, right? Put it off into a later date. And so really what you will be learning three things basically. You will be learning, one, the best ways to repair your credit in 2023. You will be learning how to use those. You will learn basically how to take those errors and get paid for those errors that we disputed. And then you will learn how to use code to finance anything. Okay, so let's get right into it, because basically the first part of it was really an introduction or an icebreaker, right? Because in order to understand basically what I'm going to teach you, which is law, you have to understand what the law says about your credit, right? You have to understand that the term credit means the right granted by a creditor to a debtor to defer the payment of debt or to incur debt. And basically that what that means is to continue to get debt, right? Incur, right? Pull debt, right? And to defer its payments. And so, like I said, defer means put off the action. Really get right into it, right? It's the best repair your credit in 2023 is to factually dispute, right? When you're disputing errors based on the facts, those are not limited to names, if your name is spelled wrong, addresses, if your address is wrong, okay, amounts, if they say you owe $1,000 but your bill says you only owe 500, okay, the terms of condition change, right? Or anything, okay, anything that you can prove. And so factually disputing is when you dispute an account based on the facts. A fact is a thing that is known or proved to be true. When you factually dispute, you would basically take your credit report and, like I said, you would take any proof that you have. If the creditors agree to do something differently than your credit report is reporting, this will be a fact, okay? And if any information does not match up to facts, and if it's not found to be verifiable, then it has to be deleted, okay? And so when we dispute using facts, we don't have to worry about templates. The only thing that we have to do is write a letter stating the facts, and that will include the who, what, when, where, and why, okay? And when you factually dispute, like I said, we don't have to get caught up in templates, because in factually disputing, we want these to be authentic, right? We want our letters to obtain things about us. So that way, when they're read by machines, they can know that they are authentically about you, right? They obtain everything that it's about your situation, right? It's not a general template about somebody else. It really contains information about you. So here's an example of a letter that was used to factually dispute. And so basically in the letter is simple, it's very simple, because when you're talking facts, that's the only thing that you have to involve in it, right? Just the facts. And that alone. And so this letter basically stated that from October 2022 to February 2023, that TransUnion, that's who it's dated to, that they updated an account every month that was considered late with credit acceptance. And so I attached the proof that credit acceptance had deleted the account, whether they closed the account on their end. And so the credit report has to line up. And so I wrote those facts, right? And like I said, it's not limited to name dates, addresses. You can also use it if the terms and conditions change. And so these right here is, this is an example of the terms and conditions changing. Since credit acceptance closed the account, the credit reporting agencies have to do the same thing. And so that is the first best way that I found that you can repair your credit in 2023. The second best way is to use code, right? Most people get tense when they hear the word law, but law is the system of rules which a particular country or community recognizes as regulating the action of its members, and which may enforce by the imposition of penalties, right? So when it comes to dispute using the law, you can start or you can introduce the law, right? And so I'm going to give you an example of that, right? So you can start by factually disputing and then use the law, or you can just come out and use the law, right? So when you dispute using code, you remind them of the law and the penalty that they face, right? The finance company, the dealer, the lender, they all signed agreements with the government that they would abide by the law. They don't educate us on our consumer rights or the rules that they are held to, so we don't know how to hold these individuals accountable. And so what is code? And so the code that I am referring to is U.S. code, or United States code. It is the codification by subject matter of the general and permanent law of the United States. It is divided by broad subject into 53 titles and published by the Office of the Law Revision Council of the U.S. House of Representatives. When you dispute using code, you place the code in your letter that applies to your situation. And so it's really like the first letter when we factually disputed, but this time you would be using code as well, or instead. Just because you didn't make your payment, it does not give them the right to break the law, okay? And so here's basically an example of a code letter, right? And so I really had to break it up in 3 different sections. I do apologize because it was a lengthy letter, but we would basically start it off how we started the first letter, right? To whom it may concern. And it says that this letter is formal notice that you have failed to respond to my dispute letter. And so after you've factually disputed and they haven't responded to you, or they have and it has been 30 days, then you can follow up with this letter, including your code after the 30 days. And so this is really what this is, okay? And so we will attach the code to the letter, right? And so this code is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and it's 15 UX section code 1692G. And it reads, if the consumer, and a consumer is an individual who buys things for their home or their family or their self, okay? Not an individual who buys things for business purposes, okay? So if you buy anything for your home or yourself, you will be considered an individual, a consumer, right? So if the consumer, you, notifies the debt collector in writing within the 30-day period described in subsection A that the debt or any portion thereof is disputed, or that the consumer requests the name and address of the original creditor, the debt collector shall cease collection of the debt or any disputed portion thereof until the debt collector obtains verification of the debt. And so we use this code to let them know exactly the what they're entitled to do, okay? And so the third part of the letter actually would contain the accounts that you are disputing, right? And so it lets them know what we're maintaining records, right? That we're maintaining records, and we are keeping track and well aware of what's going on in this situation, right? And so this letter will contain the collection accounts that you disputed and the account numbers, right? Okay, so this letter can basically be used for collection accounts and charge-offs and things like that. And so the second letter that I'm going to show you was basically used to dispute a repossession rather. It's short for, we just call it repo in the credit industry. And so we will basically start off the letter the same way, to whom it may concern, because we don't know who's going to handle the dispute letters. And so we would put the VIN number in there, right? So this will all be concerning Pacific vehicle, right? So we will place that VIN number in there. And so we will let them know that this letter is a formal statement notifying the above parties, the collection agency, the original creditor, and the dealer, that the account under the VIN number are being disputed. And so we will let them know when we purchased the car, who we financed it through, and everything like that. Okay. And so under certain laws, they are required to give you certain notices when they repo your car. And if these notices are not given within 15 days, then this will make the repossession null and void, as you can see in the letter. So The third part of the letter, basically, I CC the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I CC the Attorney General's office and the Better Business Bureau, because these individuals know law and they know code. And so sometimes I would have to include these individuals in my letters so that way I can get the results that I want. So those were the best ways that I basically found to repair your credit in 2023. There's really a lot of ways to repair your credit, but those two are really the best ways. And so once you go through those steps to repair your credit, you're going to take the results paper that you will get from the credit bureau, the credit reporting agencies, and you would use that to get paid for your errors. And so basically, once you have those back, the proof that you need that they corrected your credit report, that they deleted an item due to error, then you're entitled to civil liability. And so civil liability, basically, you will have to use the code to claim your civil liability. And so there's two codes to claim your civil liability. And the first code is 15 U.S. Section Code 1681N, and it reads, any person who willfully fails to comply with any requirement imposed under this subchapter with respect to any consumer is liable to that consumer in an amount equal to the sum of an actual damage sustained by the consumer as a result of the failure or damage of not less than $100 and not more than $1,000. Okay. And so the second code is 15 U.S. Section Code 1681O. Okay. And I'm going to give you some more proofs. I'm going to actually show you the book. I'm going to give you the link to the book that all of this comes from. It's actually a free publication. And so how you would basically request your money, you basically have to invoice them, right? You have to write a letter and invoice the individuals that violated you. So to request the damages, you will write a letter with the code attached along with the invoice in the amount of the violation. Now, sometimes companies don't adhere to the letters and you may have to file a lawsuit, okay? And so really, I don't want you to get intimidated when I say file the lawsuits, because basically I'm taking you basically through a way to really build your consumer case, right? So we would have to dispute, then we would have to invoice the individuals, okay, who violated us. And so if you would need to sue a person, you would need to consult a consumer lawyer or even a consumer advocate, right? And so this is pictures of a free publication, which is 15 U.S. Section Code 1681 of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And this is just basically samples of that book. Okay. And so as you can see in there, that it tells you that you're entitled to damages of $100 or $1,000. 100 and no more than $1,000. And then the second code is up to $2,500. And this is per violation. Okay. And so really, it's really simple to claim really your what you're entitled to, right? What they violated you on. And so what you would do is you would write what I like to call a violation letter. And you would basically write it to whom it may concern, right? And what you would do is you would basically tell them which U.S. section codes they violated you under. And so you will take that U.S. section code and you will copy and paste the entire code into your letter. And you will also attach the invoice. Okay. So you would make a regular invoice to who if it was TransUnion Experian, you would write the invoice out to them and you would basically put the violations that they violated you under. And so here they violated him under 2 violations. So that totaled up to $3,500. And so these are the two things that you will have to do to claim your what you're entitled to. And so what you would do is the first letter, you would send it to either Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax. You would send the violation letter along with the invoice. And so that would be your first round. Then you would become like really like a bill collector, and you would invoice them every month. Now, you would not have to include the violation letter again once you included it the first time, but every month you would send them this invoice every month. And so you can do it maybe 5 or 6 times. And if they don't pay it, then you can take all of your information. You can take your factual dispute proof. You can take your law disputing proof. You can take your dispute results. Then you can take your invoice and the violation letter and include all of this. You can take to the consumer lawyer or the consumer advocate, and they can further build your case, okay? Because all of this is proof that you actually have a case with them, right? Okay, and so switching gears a little bit, because that was basically wrapped up the second part, right? So the first part, the best ways to dispute errors on your credit report, it went with the second part, which was how to get paid for those errors. And so now we're switching gears on how to use those same codes when financing anything. And so the first thing that you can do is verbally quote the law, or you can write to the finance company. And so what we have to understand is the salesmen that we usually deal with don't know law. They're only trained to sell. So they won't know some of these codes that you will be learning today, okay? And charge it really to their head and not their heart, because they weren't trained specifically on law. And so you're already one step ahead of the salesman. And so the first code is 15 U.S. Section Code 1605. And it basically is used to include liability insurance into your finance charge. And basically what that does is it allows you to only pay one bill. Okay. And so that's just your car note. You don't have to pay State Farm or Progressive or Geico. But you can have your finance company to put all those charges together. So you just pay the finance company and they make your insurance payments every month. Okay. And so the second part of that code is for life, accident, and health insurance, right? So basically you're saving money by not having to pay for life, accident, and health insurance premiums. So basically what that does is it really allows you to, take all of your payments and lump them in one. And so really when you're doing life on a home that you finance, really what you're doing is you're saying that you want to put out a policy, okay? And this policy will pay this house off. This policy would pay this insurance off, and you would make one payment. And so in order to do that, you have to, like you can see down here, if you read down towards the bottom of the code, right? It says that it has to be done in writing, right? You have to, like I said, you have to either write to the finance company or you have to quote it to the dealer, right? And so creditors, what they do is they word their letters really funny to get us to agree to provide our own insurance, right? And how they do that is how they word their contracts, right? And so really what I wanted to do is just really show you guys really how they get us to do something different, right? I wanted this to be really detailed, and I wanted it to really include clients' contracts that I've worked on and clients that I've gotten results for. And so this is two of my clients' contracts, right? And so the first one says that liability insurance coverage for bodily injury and property damages caused to others is not included, right? And so according to 15 U.S. Section Code, I believe that was 15 U.S. Section Code 1605, right? We know that it is included in the finance charge, right? And so their contract basically said that it was not included, right? excuse me. And then the second contract, they put a warning right there, right? And so it says that the insurance afforded hereunder does not cover liability for injury to persons or damaged property to others unless so indicated hereon. And so what they did was they put a warning there, and then if you look at this second paper, they included it with the contract to basically waive the rights of the first right. And so this is how basically they catch us up, right, in the wording of their contracts. So this is why you have to really read your contracts, because they catch us up really in the wording of the contract. And if we don't know how the contract is supposed to be worded or exactly what terms they're being held under, then we'll be able to get violated by them. And so the proposed next steps is basically that you apply the information, right? Know that it would not be easy, but there is additional information that can help you better to understand this information. Keep going until you get the result that you want. And I provided 3 links here. The first link is Cornell Law. And basically you can take those codes that I gave you and you can search them up to fact check, right? To fact check your information. And then the second code is to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And this is really where all of the codes can be found. And the second link I provided was to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Okay. And so you can basically find all of the information there. Basically, you will have to look through the information, but it's easily findable. Okay. And